Revolutionary greetings, comrades. The Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions, ZCTU, has suspended Comrade Obed Masaraure, who is president of the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. You will know that ATUS is the affiliate to ZCTU. ZCTU decided to suspend him. I must say that we are talking to the President and Secretary General of the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions to understand the circumstances under which Comrade Obed is suspended. We have indicated to both the President and the Secretary General of the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions that the Zimbabwe Communist Party does not seek to interfere in the internal processes of ZCTU, but we ought to understand what is happening. Comrade Obed Masaraure is our member, therefore his suspension requires us to understand why he gets suspended. And see where, if it's possible for us to assist. As we are talking to the ZCTU on other matters, not only on this matter, on other matters, we hope that we will emerge, all of us united, because what needs to be done is to unite the workers in Zimbabwe at this stage, because yes, we've heard what Comrade Obed Masaraure is saying in terms of why he believes he was suspended, but it's also important that we understand the position of the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions so that we assist each other in resolving this matter. We are in a difficult position as the working class in Zimbabwe. We need to foster unity. At our Congress, as the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we said we must build a militant Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions. We note that Comrade Obed Masaraure and other members of ZCTU are drawn from the public sector unions, and we have said that the immediate employer of comrades in the public sector is government. So it will not be a surprise if leaders of unions drawn from the public sector will call on government, who happens to be their employer, to meet their demands. And it will not surprise all of us again when workers get frustrated in the public sector, will call on the government of the day to resign, because to them that will be a bad employer, and they will want an employer that will meet their demands. So the letter written to Comrade Obed says, but before I read the letter, it's important to also underline that workers have only one tool in their disposal to get the employer to meet their demands. The only tool available to workers is industrial action. So when workers, through negotiations, they feel that the employer is not willing to meet their demands, workers will take to the streets. Either they will take to the streets or stay away. So in the videos that we have seen, Comrade Obed Masaraure has been calling on workers to go on strike. As I've said, that they are drawn from the public sector and the employer is government. So, but we will not say much, but there are a lot of things possible that might be happening, particularly inside the ZCTU. This is why the Zimbabwe Communist Party would want to understand what is happening inside the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions, so that we assist each other in building a militant Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions. The letter written to Comrade Obed, actually written to R2s, says is written on the 24th of July 2023. The General Secretary, Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe. It says suspension of Comrade Obed Masaraure and request for his replacement. At its meeting held at Cresta Jameson Hotel on the 22nd of July 2023, the General Council resolved to suspend Comrade Obed Masaraure from the General Council on allegations of misconduct emanating from the incidents that happened during the Workers' Day commemorations at Zivarasekwa Stadium on the 1st of May 2023. A disciplinary process will be instituted as soon as possible to investigate the allegations leveled against him. Meanwhile, Atuns is requested to nominate his replacement in the General Council. The letter is signed by the ZCTU Secretary General, Comrade Japhet Moyo. So, like I said, we are engaging the President and the Secretary General of the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions to understand what is happening. We have also seen the letter by the General Secretary of the Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, seeking clarity on the suspension of Comrade Obed Masaraure. Like I said, that we need to build a strong, militant Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions. The workers in Zimbabwe are suffering. We need to unite the working class. So let's listen to what Comrade Obed Masaraure said when this was brought to our attention. We then Comrade Obed sent us these two videos that he thinks constitute his suspension from ZCTU. For those that might not understand Shona, he speaks of, firstly, he speaks about poverty that is in Zimbabwe, and says that workers are ready to go on strike. But let's underline this once again, that when workers in Zimbabwe call for a strike, they are not part of a regime change agenda. Because in most cases, when workers in the public sector are raising issues that affect them, direct with the employer, to an extent that they then take to the streets, government tends to donate them to the opposition and claim that they are not raising issues, genuine issues that they are faced with at the workplace, but they seek to remove the government through unconstitutional means. So Comrade Obed was saying there is poverty, workers must take to the streets and demand to be paid in US dollars. He cites examples where last year, which we discussed, that ministers were paid close to over 400,000 US dollars given as a housing loan. Deputy ministers were also paid something like 350,000 US dollars. Members of parliament were paid something like 40,000 US dollars. And he says, if political leaders are given these as loans, why then not pay workers in US dollars, which they've been calling for ever since? And he then calls for a free and a fair election. Workers naturally would want an election to be held in an environment that is free and fair, so that the people of Zimbabwe express themselves in terms of who should lead them. So that's not part then of a regime change agenda. Let's listen to what Comrade Obed says.
shinga. Penga ushandi penga. Pengera kodzero dzako mushandi penga. Tinotenda regai tivape mukana vangotaurawo muchidimbu. Shika mushandi shika. Shika mushandi shika. Penga mushandi shika. Penga. Kana tati rachiche. Tagarisa tisatenda murodhi. Tagarisa tisati tarwisira kodzero dzedu. Vanhu vari kufa nenzara mudzimba umu. Mudzimba muna chekudya umu. Vashoma vari kuba vachiluta mari yedu yose. Toita sei sevashandi? Nyaya yatabva nayo kuCrisis Zimbabwe Coalition. Tiri kutaura neutungamiri hweZCTU nemaLabour Leaders ese kuti dedzera general strike, vanhu vari kuda kuenda kustrike. Let's go for a national shutdown. Tichiti mushandi wese awane ma-USD salaries. Hakuna mushandi anofanirwa kutambira board notes. Hakuna mushandi anofanirwa kutambira mari iri pasi pepoverty data line. Takaona maminista achipiwa ma$500,000 ehousing, $500,000 ehousing. Tikazoona payslip ya teacher anotambira $7 housing allowance. Zvinoita here izvi? Taneta nekubirwa. Takaona pagold mafia mbavha dziri kuba mari yedu yose. Taneta nekubirwa mari yedu. Now kana takomplaina nyaya yeoperation yananichitaura, vajobs kala vanofanirwa kubudiswa mujeri. Vajacob Karubume vanofanirwa kubuda mujeri. Haisi mhosva kurwisa corruption. Sema workers muZimbabwe tiri kuti zvakwana. Tiri kuti regai nditaure kakupedzisira ndichiti hurumende yavamunangagwa ngaizive nhasi kuti patiri kuenda kuma-elections aya, ma-elections ngave free and fair. We are tired of rigged elections. We want the next government to be legitimate, to get the recognition of the people and the international community. And we will not allow Munangagwa to rig the elections. Kana ala hake zvekubira, tikukumbira ma-citizens tibatane tidefend the next vote yedu. Tinotenda. Happy Workers' Day.